All right, old school NBA fans, self-research, NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. This video here is one I think I've touched on before. I think I did a video, I don't know, months back. But not exactly in this way. So, Nick Wright especially, and him I've heard, I think I might have even heard Colin Cowherd. They just think that the NBA is so much better today, and anything in the past is just junk. And I mean, these people are just, I'm not sure what their agenda is, but they have one. There's no doubt about it, because no one would say the things they're saying unless there was an agenda being pushed. No logical person would come to these conclusions. But I remember Nick Wright specifically said that every single one of LeBron James's finals competition was better than Michael Jordan's finals competition. Now, first of all, how can you prove that? There's no way to prove it. If you go by record, then Michael Jordan's competition was actually better. If you go by net rating, it's about a tie. It's pretty close to the same. So it really just comes down to opinion, I guess, whatever you want to look at. But there's no definitive way to prove that. These people, obviously, they try anything and everything to push Michael Jordan down. But at least Jordan played the number one seed pretty much every time when he was in the finals. He played the very best team. And back in those days, in the 90s, home court meant everything. It was huge. There wasn't too many teams that managed to somehow, upset a bigger seed. It happened, sure. But most of the time, the bigger seeds ended up, going all the way, or at least to like the conference finals. Just wasn't a lot of upsets like that. There were some, sure, but just didn't happen that often. But to think that LeBron James's finals competition, first of all, why are we only focusing on the finals? Because they know as soon as we start looking at all the other rounds of the playoffs that this guy played, it's a laughable joke. It is just insane how terrible his competition was. And I've done videos on that. The conferences were so bad. There was only a handful of teams that you would even consider were really good teams. Just a handful. The whole time he was in the East. Most of the time they were just, your typical decent, good team, whatever. Nothing special about them at all. I mean, there was a Toronto team, I think it was in 2017 or maybe 16. They won 59 games. And typically a 59-win team, that's a really good team. There was nothing special about that team at all. They were okay. I mean, but please. Atlanta Hawks won 60 games one time in the Eastern Conference Finals. They got swept because they weren't that good. But in the East, in those days, that's just the best there was. So anyway, these finals teams that LeBron played, just so great, unbeatable teams, right? Well, I'm here to say that's just not the case. I think LeBron had trouble with them, but other teams could have beaten them. They were not unbeatable. So, 2007 Spurs, LeBron James's first experience in the finals. Okay, the 07 Spurs in the first round played a 45-37 Denver team. All right, yeah, they had Carmelo Anthony. They had Chauncey Billups. They weren't bad, but they weren't great either. And you have to keep in mind too, a lot of these teams in the West, their records were inflated. I mean, they just were because of how bad the East was. So a lot of these teams just, had a lot better players on them. So they just ran roughshod over the East. And it wasn't like in the 80s where you played your division a lot, like 6 times, and the other team in the other team in the conference in the other division, you played them 5 times each. So you were playing, you were probably playing, 60 games out of those 10 teams, 9, maybe 11 teams, 12 teams, whatever it was, you're playing 60 games. There's only 11 teams in the West. You're only playing 22 against them, the weaker conference. So if you're in the East in the 80s, you got to play a lot of tough teams. In the West, yeah, there was tough teams, But there was 30 games that you got to play in the East that you just, almost automatic wins. These teams would go 24-6, 25-5 often. I've looked that up. But anyway, so yeah, Denver's a 45-win team. And in the West, that's probably about like being a 39-win team in the East. But they beat them in 5 games. In the semifinals, they played Phoenix. They beat them 4-2. However, Phoenix had the better record. And if you remember, when that series was tied 2-2, there was that stupid incident where Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw got suspended. That was in Game 5. Well, in that series, Amari Stoudemire was averaging 26.4 points a game. Duncan was 26.8 points a game. So this guy's basically matching Tim Duncan. So Game 5 would have been in Phoenix, a game they lost by 3 points without Boris Diaw and Amari Stoudemire. And San Antonio didn't have Robert Horry, which at that time he was like 35, 36, not a big loss. But it was for Phoenix. Had they won that game, a lot of people feel they would have probably won that series or, at least gone 7 and been a close game. We'll never know for sure, but I would think that that's proof right there. This team was far from unbeatable. Like I said, they won 4-2, but Game 5, because of the suspensions and all, they kind of got a huge break right there. So in the conference finals, they beat a 51-win Utah team 4-1. They had like Darren Williams. I think they had like Andre Kirilenko, Carlos Boozer. I mean, yeah, they were a good team, but nothing special at all. But where San Antonio got really lucky was they dodged Dallas. That year, Dallas was 67-15, but they got upset in the first round by Golden State. And that was actually the biggest upset in NBA history going by record. And, you might think, well, San Antonio, they would have beat Dallas anyway. I don't know about that. The year before, in 2006, Dallas beat San Antonio. They was in 7, but Dallas beat them. So why wouldn't a better version of Dallas beat the Spurs that year? You know what I'm saying? We're never going to know these things. But San Antonio got 2 huge breaks along the way. 3, actually. The first one was against Phoenix, where the suspension just basically wrapped up the series for them. Because then it's just Game 6 at home, win 1 home game, and you win. And that's exactly what happened. The other one was dodging the 67-win Dallas Mavericks. That was a huge break. And then the third one was whoever they played in the East, whether it be Detroit or Cleveland. Of course they were going to beat them. It's just that Cleveland had no shot of beating San Antonio, but other teams did. The Spurs were not unbeatable. And this was not the best version of the Spurs either. You're telling me the 07 Spurs with a straight face were better than the 96 Seattle Sonics or the 93 Phoenix Suns? You sure about that? I don't think they were at all. Not even close. Okay, so 2011 Dallas. People make so much about this run. And, it was a good run, okay? But there's a big but coming. So Dallas in the first round actually played Portland, a 48-34 team. They needed 6 games to beat them in the first round, okay? In the semifinals, they played the Lakers. I know, they're the 2-time defending champions and all that. But Kobe was battling injuries. And before that series, the Lakers, in their previous 13 games, including the first round of the playoffs, the Lakers were 6-7. So they were struggling coming down the stretch. This was not, the final. This was not the 2010, mid-season form Lakers. They had definitely taken a step back. Now they swept them, and that was impressive, no doubt about it. But I'm just saying, it wasn't the 2010 or the 2009 Lakers. It just wasn't. And the Lakers were 57-25. Dallas was 57-25. So they beat a team with the same record. Okay. And then in the conference finals, in 5 games, they beat Oklahoma City. Well, Oklahoma City needed 7 games to beat the 46-win Memphis Grizzlies. And within those 7 games, they needed 3 overtimes to beat Memphis in Game 4. So that one definitely could have turned out very different. And even with that, Oklahoma City was a 55-27 win team. So in the whole West playoffs, Dallas did not play a team with a better record than them at all. Didn't happen. So then they beat Miami. Coming back from 2-1, definitely impressive. The way they shut down LeBron James, or LeBron choked, or a combination of the both, whatever that was. Miami was a 58-24 win team. So that means that they beat a team that was 1 win better than theirs. That's all. People act like this is on the level of Houston Rockets or something. Houston was a 47-win team that beat a 57 or more win team all 4 rounds. This is a team to beat. One team was better than them by 1 win. So I'm just saying Dallas was not unbeatable in 2011. It's just Miami couldn't beat them. LeBron couldn't beat them. 2012 OKC. All right, OKC, they beat Dallas in the first round 4-0. Dallas was 36-30. It was a strike shortened year. OKC was 47-19. That's good. They were the second best team. Well, Dallas lost 8 of their last 10 games to end the season. They were 15-18 in the second half of the year. So this is a struggling team. Sweeping them, no big deal. They then beat the Lakers, who were 41-25 in 5 games. So in the first round, the Lakers struggled to beat Denver, and they beat them in 7. And actually, Denver outscored the Lakers in that series. So again, this is not the 2009 or the 2010 Lakers. This is something else. This is a team that's struggling, just to get out of the first round. I know Kobe had injuries and all that. Then in the semifinals, they beat San Antonio, who was the 1 seed. They were down 2-0, came back to win 4-2, which was impressive. James Harden hit a bunch of threes, yada, yada. But if you're down, if a team is up on you 2-0, I would think the team that's up 2-0 is in a position to beat you. So you are not unbeatable. They came back, they won the series, they deserve all the credit, no doubt. But to say they were unbeatable, some juggernaut, no, they were down 0-2. They were definitely beatable. I say the same thing about the 93 Bulls. They were definitely beatable by the Knicks in 93. They just didn't. Same here. And Miami, they beat OKC for, LeBron's big first championship, whatever. Well, Miami, LeBron James went 3 for 16 shooting threes. The rest of the team went 47.5%. So you have your supporting cast shooting 47.5% from 3, making 39 threes over 5 games. I think you're probably going to win. Shane Battier shot 19 for 31 from the field. He was 15 for 26 from 3. Mike Miller was 7 for 11. In fact, in Game 5, he goes 7 for 8 shooting from 3. You get that kind of production from players like Mike Miller, Shane Battier, you're going to win. You already got Chris Bosh and Wade. I mean, yeah, you're going to win. There was no big revelation there. But the OKC 2012 team was not unbeatable. No chance. 2013 Spurs. All right, so they beat the Lakers 4-0. No Kobe on that team. They were 45-37. They were the 7 seed. Then the Spurs played the 6 seed Golden State. Why? Because Golden State upset Denver, who was the 3 seed. So San Antonio didn't have to play them. And, they beat Golden State in 6. They beat Memphis 4-0. But Memphis in the conference finals, Memphis was the 5 seed. So they played the 7, the 6, and the 5 to get to the finals. They didn't have to play Denver, the 3 seed. They didn't have to play even the Clippers, the 4 seed. And they dodged OKC, the team that had just beaten them the year before. Russell Westbrook got hurt after the second game against Memphis, and then Memphis came back, beat them. So again, San Antonio in 13 was not unbeatable. They didn't have to play any real tough teams. Golden State was the 6 seed. They beat them in 6. They swept the other 2 rounds, but they just weren't on the level of, an OKC at full strength or a Denver or even a Clippers at that time. They just got lucky going all the way in there. And even with that said, the Spurs were up 3-2 on Miami. And, should have beat them if it wasn't for Kawhi Leonard missing a free throw and then, the Ray Allen 3 and all that. And people act like this is some dynasty team. In 2013, the Spurs are 6 years removed from their last championship, that they had a bunch of breaks to win that one. I don't think so. That's not a dynasty team. The 2014 Spurs, they were 62-20. In the first round, they got taken to 7 by Dallas. They were facing elimination in round 1. Does that sound like an unbeatable team to you? And of Dallas's 3 best players, they were 35 to 37 years old. Sean Marion was 36, Dirk Nowitzki was 35, almost 36, and Vince Carter was 37. That was the 3 best players, taking the Spurs to 7. Now I know that's a division rivalry, whatever, but I'm just saying, does that sound unbeatable to you? Doesn't sound like that to me. They beat Portland in the next round. It was 54-28 in 5 games. Okay, whatever. Then in the conference finals, they beat Oklahoma City, who was 59-23. They beat them 4-2. However, when Serge Ibaka was in there, they were 2-2. They lost both games when Ibaka in the first 2 games was not there. Another break the Spurs got. They beat them, but we don't know what would have happened if OKC was at full strength with Ibaka. We'll never know. But I'm just saying, a team got taken to 7 in the first round is not unbeatable. I don't care what anybody says. And then they got taken to 6 in the conference finals, but Ibaka, a key player, the 3rd best player, wasn't there for 2 of the games that they lost them both in. So I think that would matter. The fact that Miami got run roughshod over is irrelevant, losing in 5. Getting beat by 15, 19, 31, and 17, and then the only win Miami had was by 2 points. That just speaks to Miami just, wasn't ready to play, whatever. They got overwhelmed by the Spurs, who were not unbeatable when Dallas has taken them to 7 in the first round. Sorry, I don't think so. And they only had 1 win over Dallas in that first round by more than 6 points. So not only was it a tight series game-wise, but by score-wise it was too. All right, moving to 2015, Golden State. They were 67-15. The second best team in the league was Atlanta, who was 60-22 in the East. This is my contention that the league just wasn't that good. There was just no real good teams other than Golden State. They had no real rivals. I mean, there was just Atlanta's the next best team. No All-NBA players on that team. No Hall of Famers. I mean, okay. So Golden State swept New Orleans in the first round. They're a 45-win team. Then they beat Memphis in 6 in the semifinals. They put up a fight. Tony Allen missed 1 game. Mike Conley missed 1 game. Key defensive players, guards, that maybe would have made a difference. They beat Houston. It was a 56-win team in 5 games. I mean, they were good, but whatever. But they weren't great. Come on, James Harden, whatever. So then they beat Cleveland 4-2. But Cleveland, without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, I think Kyrie for 2 of those games, Cleveland was actually up 2-1. I mean, Golden State allowed Cleveland to go up 2-1 on them without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. Wow. I mean, okay. Like I said, I just don't think the league was that great at that time. But anyway, Cleveland had a 2-1 lead. They lost 4-2. That's what happened. I don't think the Golden State, maybe for the rest of the teams that are in the league that year, I would maybe say maybe Golden State was, I don't know, but Cleveland themselves were up 2-1 on them and lost. 2016 Golden State, 73-9. Heard so much about this team. Oh, yeah. Even though we know how bad Curry was hobbled, they swept no one. The first round, a 500 Houston team, they beat them in 5. A 44-38 Portland team, they beat them in 5. In the conference finals, they beat OKC in 7, but they were down 3-1. If you're down 3-1, you're very beatable. And they avoided the 67-15 Spurs, who could have played them, who gave them trouble in the regular season in 16 and 17. So, again, a big break for Golden State. They were not unbeatable. And yeah, Cleveland came back. They had breaks of injuries to Bogut, suspension to Green, yada, yada. We all know how that went down. Curry was injured pretty much the whole playoffs. 2017 Golden State. Now, I know everybody say, well, that team for sure was unbeatable. I thought so too, but they're not. They beat Portland, a 500 team, 4-0. They beat Utah, a 51-win team, 4-0. Okay, looking great. The Spurs in game one, now the Spurs are already without Tony Parker. Okay, he's out. Their second best player is out. Kawhi Leonard is in there. In the third quarter, the Spurs are up by 25 points midway through the third quarter. And then Kawhi Leonard got that bad knee injury. Was it Zaza Pachulia, whatever, went underneath his leg, screwed him up. And then from there, without Kawhi Leonard, without Tony Parker, they had no chance. But I do think the Spurs, who beat Golden State 2 out of 3 in the regular season in 2017, had a chance to beat them. I do, regardless of how good they were, super team, whatever. I don't care. I mean, and then, of course, they beat Cleveland in 5 in the finals. Cleveland was a 51-win team, but they were, the record doesn't mean anything because between Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and LeBron James, those three, they missed 40 games, and even J.R. Smith missed half the season, if that means anything. So that kind of reflected why their record was only 51-31. 2018 Golden State, another team, very beatable. They beat San Antonio, a 47-win team, in 5. They beat New Orleans, a 48-win team, in 5. Okay, whatever. Houston, though, in the conference finals, who was a 65-win team, a team that can fight back, they were up on Golden State 3-2. But Chris Paul goes down, and of course, that was it. Shattered James Harden's confidence, ball game. But if you're down 3-2, facing elimination twice, you're beatable. Okay, so the last one is 2020 Miami. They were 44-29. They were the 5 seed. Of course, they're beatable. They just, they were hot or whatever. But even them, they took the Lakers to 6 games, missing what? Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo. Those guys are missing games, and they still took them to 6. But there's not a team on here that was just flat out unbeatable. Bullcrap. And if you, just real quick, you take a look at Michael Jordan's finals competition, the ones that are just weak and whatever, okay. Well, the Lakers in 91 were the 3rd net-rated team in the NBA. Number 2 is Portland. They won 63 games. Well, the Lakers beat them in the conference finals. The Lakers were top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense, and they had the runner-up for the MVP, Magic Johnson. In 92, Portland, the number 2 net-rated team. That means they're the 2nd best team in the NBA. Okay? And they also had the runner-up to the MVP. And they took the Bulls 6 games. Bulls had to come back in Game 6 to win that. 93 Phoenix. They were the number 1 offensive team, the number 4 net team, number 1 in points per game, and they were 3.3 points per game more than the second place team. I think it was Charlotte, actually. 62-20. Anything about that team that smells weak to you? I don't think so. 96 Seattle, 64-18. They swept the 2-time defending champion Rockets. They beat the Jazz, the team that wins the final, wins the West the next 2 years in 97 and 98 to get to the finals. They were the number 2 rated defense and the number 2 net rated team, 64-18. 97 Utah, the number 2 net rated team, the number 2 offensive team, 64-18. Before playing the Bulls in the finals, this team was 46-8 going into the finals. Red hot. The Bulls just beat them. They were better, but Utah was a very good team. They could have beat the Bulls. And I don't know if people realize this, but 97 regular season through 98 regular season, this team here, they were 5-5 against the Bulls. Or actually 4-4. They were 4-4 against the Bulls. And if you look at Game 1 of the 98 finals, they were 5-4 against the Bulls over that 9-game stretch. I mean, I don't know what else to say than that. They beat them twice in the 98 regular season, split with them in 97 regular season. I guess they were 5-5. They were 6-5 against the Bulls from 97 regular season up to through Game 1 of the 98 finals. And those 11 games played, Utah was 6-5 against the Bulls. That's a fact. And then in 98, Utah was the number 4 net rated, number 1 offense. Before the finals, in the playoffs, Utah was 10-1, beating the likes of Drexler, Barkley, Olajuwon, Duncan, Robinson, Kobe, Shaq, every one of them teams. And then if you include game 1 of 98, Utah was 11-1. And then the Bulls won 3 in a row on them. But, again, if Jordan doesn't hit that shot or Stockton doesn't rim out that 3 at the end of game 6, the Bulls easily could have lost that series. There's no doubt about it. Easy. So, anyway, I just tried to show, maybe in a little different way, that these teams, that these guys go on and on about, the finals. They were not unbeatable. Most of them just got lucky and avoided the number 1 seed or played a team that had injuries either during the series or, the player was out before the series, whatever, not at full strength. Happened a lot. That's just what happened on most of the teams that LeBron played. Most of them. That's just how it was. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button, and that's it for now.